at the risk of possibly turning purple today, I'm not just sitting in the center. I'm Mel in the middle, and have been told that such a question may be asked that I'll want to reach and turn off the video. But I'm too far away to do it. But I'm still going to go forward with Summer to my left and Sandy to my... Andy. I just had to do that. I had to do that because once... I've done it twice. I've called Summer Amber. So today was the day...
Sandy Andy.
Wow. The candy.
Candy.
I would have even been good with Brandy. But Sandy.
But Sandy, that can be both a guy's name and a
Oh,
girl's
you're
name.
really setting yourself up. Holy cannoli, guys.
So now, you have now left
Okay,
no choice.
now I have to go first.
no
You did it to yourself.
choice.
Oh no!
No choice but for Summer to
Thank
go
you,
first.
Jesus, for the affirmation that this is the way it should go.
Oh!
Yeah, so if you're watching this right now, you want to lean in a little closer to see Mel's reaction to this question.
Okay,
So-
Mel. Picture this.
Okay.
You meet a girl, maybe named Amber, maybe named Sandy, maybe named Belina. I don't know. Whatever you want. But a girl. She's gorgeous. You fall in love. You marry her. She says yes. You have a nice wedding. It's glorious. And you have a wedding night. And it's glorious. And you're like, oh. And you're going on about your life. And one day, she comes to you and she says, Mel, I have to tell you something. I know I'm Sandy right now, and you fell in love with me as Sandy, but I was actually born Andy. What do you do, Mel? Does anything change?
I send her to see Ned.
Does it? Ned's our resident counselor here, guys.
Okay.
Wow, look at
So, I mean, you've got choices, right? You can just press on like nothing's happened. You can decide that you are suddenly homosexual. You can divorce her for lying to you. You can do all sorts of things. What's the right answer? What do you do?
See, now I think the important part about this question, which again is relevant for today, right? Not a question you probably want to talk about or answer, but it's more and more relevant, right? You don't know this person as Andy. You
Right.
only know
her as Sandy.
It really is relevant. Like, this came up to us because we literally know someone who goes on dates and, like, the first 3 questions they ask, like, one of them is, what was your sex at birth? Because people are changing, right? They take hormones, they do sex changes, they do operations, they do all these things. So, like, dating people now are saying, like, well, what were you born as?
It's literally come to that.
It has come to that. So we spent many hours discussing this.
I just hope it hasn't happened. Has it happened?
Well, you
on like Christian Mingle?
I'm sure that it has now.
They probably add it to the list of questions on the questionnaire. Which sex are you now? Which sex were you then?
But there's so many.
Which sex do you want to be?
There's so much spiritual application here, right?
Yeah.
Is but first I'm guessing Summer wants to know what you would do.
I hope
After you shut down, after the meltdown, after the oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how do you proceed?
This is abstract for
Now,
sure,
keep
but
in
I'm
mind,
thinking,
you love her.
yeah.
The physical is that of a
Is
woman.
there? Yeah.
It works. You're happy.
Yeah.
Life is normal.
Right.
But now
And if she doesn't tell you, you never know any
she
different.
was a man, though.
Oh, okay. So you're saying she literally
Was born a man.
man.
See now his face got a little redder.
Wow.
Had a
I
physical
thought
operation and physical hormone changes and all the physical stuff, so you never would know.
so. We're talking transsexual
Yeah,
rather than transgender.
right. Fully morphed.
But you stood in front of God and a bunch of witnesses, and you married him, her, and you consummated the marriage.
Yeah.
Didn't know any difference, and have actually lived with that person for a while, right?
Sorry. Will.
Wow.
Do you want to hit the stop?
I know.
1 minute, 13-second video. I'm not seeing you guys. Have a good Saturday.
I'm not turning purple yet.
You gonna pass out?
I'm glad this is just the abstract rather than the real.
Except for, I'm guessing in the world that we live in today now,
It's real somewhere.
somebody's ran into this.
I mean, we've all
Yeah.
heard the stories of somebody, a guy sees a girl at the bar and takes her home and, finds things.
Yeah.
We've seen that, right? So,
Right,
I mean, people
in
are
the
deceived
world.
at least that far. Well, why not further? It could certainly happen.
So really need your answer because I got a whole bunch of questions for you. Or do you want to?
How about this? Do
wanna-
you stay with her or do you not stay with her? And we'll figure out the reasons later.
Yeah. Which tells me.
What's your gut say
I haven't.
first?
I
Stay
haven't.
or go?
I don't know. I would almost gut reaction go.
Go.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So now, walk me backwards, right? is trans, not gender, transgender or, right? Transsexual, is that a sin?
Yes.
So would having the operations and all of that in your mind be a sin?
Yes.
Okay. If a person commits that sin and then truly repents for it, right? They can't go back and fix it. There's no way to
Yep.
go back and fix it, right? At least that I know of. They don't change the parts back around.
Although it has happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
But most people that I
Probably
know
don't do it
of,
again, right?
they're just now living that lifestyle, right? So if it's repented sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
What responsibility then do they have moving forward?
I think they have the responsibility of being upfront with the person they're dating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it cannot be premised on a lie, meaning God made them male and female from the beginning. It was so.
Okay.
And I feel like when you enter into a marriage relationship, it all has to be on the table.
Okay. So they're repentant. They were forgiven. They're now a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be changed. They're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
God's forgiven them.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't keep a record of wrongs. God says you're wiped clean. You start over that moment each time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Flip it. You meet me, right? I'm a different girl.
Mm-hmm.
You meet me and you want to date me and we're going. I've always been a girl from the beginning. Nothing weird there. But I've actually had sex with about 100 men before you.
Mm-hmm.
But I've repented. I'm a Christian now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a virgin in God's eyes. I've started over.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to tell you that I've had sex with 100 men?
Not that you've had like every last one, but I think something along the lines of I have engaged in sex outside of marriage.
Okay. Why would you want or need that information?
That's a very good question.
Does it change who I am right now?
No.
So,
But-
what benefit would it bring to you to know it?
Just to me, it just seems like there's a level of intimacy here that would convey that this relationship is based on knowledge of the most intimate sort. And I just...
So does God have levels of intimacy when it comes to those things? Or does God say, Summer actually was a chronic pathological liar for 10 years? Like, would I need to tell you that?
I think that this goes so much, Mal, to what we keep talking about in the hierarchy of sin and all those kind of things, right? If I mean, there's things like, listen, if I had a nervous breakdown, like, 5 years before I met you, and I was mentally unstable, do I need to tell you that as part of our dating relationship? Like, all of these kind of things that come in, like how, I like what Summer's, I like the thing that she's on, like, as long as we're going to say yes to that, then we need to say yes to everything. Like, right? You need to be an open book, and it needs to be that way, right?
Yeah, I do kind of like that concept. You just brought up the open book.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the whole aspect of marriage should be like an open book.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm too idealistic.
No.
But as when we think of coming together as man and woman, husband and wife, the most intimate human relationship there is, I sense that the aspect of knowing who each other is, including their history, is important in entering into that relationship.
So,
But it would be hard for me to understand why a person who was a transsexual would not be upfront with the person.
well, probably because the person is not God, and the person would most likely hold them to a past sin, would judge them for a past sin. No matter what state they're in now, most people, like you said, your first instinct would be go. Why would the first instinct be go if they were repentant?
Yeah, which would make me think too,
Right.
should I go off of that first instinct? I hope what I would do would be, first, okay, I better go to prayer, I better seek counseling here, we better seek counseling together, instead of just reacting off an impulse.
So you could make this story as complicated as you want. Right?
Yeah.
You could say, listen, we did this when we were older in life, and we decided that we were going to adopt a couple kids rather than try to have kids, right? Or they never told you, there was never a pregnancy, and you decided to. So now what happens if you have kids involved in the situation? Right? So that you can go on, you can make it super complicated.
Right.
Right?
Wow.
But the truth of the matter is, how far do we go in forgiving sin? What is our responsibility? If you stood in front of God and men, like we've talked about before on this show, and you committed to taking care of this person, and you know nothing about their previous life, like nothing about that for some reason. Now we could argue that, like how would you not know? But you don't know anything, and you know nothing different but them being the love of your life and a woman, and in every way they are fulfilling you like as a woman, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they say to you for some reason, and we can imagine the reasons, other people would have known that they were a male before, right? And maybe they're threatening to tell you or something like that. So your wife sits you down and she says, I need you to know this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I like what Summer said, because you could do that in a bunch of stuff, right? What if at 18, right, you were a felon for some reason, whatever it is, you got in out of prison. We believe that prison is the greatest restoration tool, right? Evens the field. You did you paid your time. Do you have to tell people you were a felon, right? And in order for them to to do life with you. But what I see, and I bet you've seen before, these kind of conversations don't come up until you're well attached to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you're falling in love. And then I've seen people hide the goofiest of sin from somebody because they think that, hey, they're going to break up with me. Hey, they don't want me. So, I mean, all kinds of things can happen. So I could very well see somebody who fell in love with somebody. They have every intentions of wanting to tell you, but they're scared of losing you, scared of it, and going, I'm not going to say anything, right? Mm-hmm. Shame would do that. All kinds of things could keep you from telling somebody that way, right? But it doesn't matter how you get there. Really, you got there.
Yeah.
Right? So then, is the proper Christian thing to do to divorce her, right? We got into the conversation, is it actually a homosexual relationship? They were born a boy, a guy. So now are you guilty in God's eyes of a homosexual relationship? But if it's repentant sin, does God expect that person to go the rest of their life being a guy when they look like a woman and they act like a woman and they seem like a woman? Like, what is God's expectation? Does God expect all alcoholics to go around telling everybody all the time they're an alcoholic?
No, I don't think so.
Or any sin. If I'm a recovering gossip.
That's what I'm saying. If I divulge, I mean, first of all, where's the limit, right? Like, oh, I had sex with this many people, or oh, I used to be an alcoholic, or okay, well, do you need to know every single sin? And I stole a Skittle when I was 5, or else I'm leaving something out. And does that, again, how does it benefit you? Except you just feel like you know things, but does it really give you an opportunity for grace? Or is it actually giving you an opportunity for sin?
See, as Andy was describing all what goes on underneath and what eventually surfaces, you mean the fear, the guilt, the shame, all of that.
All of these things.
It eventually comes out. And I could see something very redemptive taking place within that relationship. I'm sorry. Instead of saying, oh, I'm out of here. Well, it seems like you just experienced an opportunity for greater maturity and having this come forward, come out.
And you love the person.
Yeah.
You're committed to the person. Nothing about the person has changed, only your knowledge of the
Yeah.
person. And we talk about this all the time in other situations. How many times do we have somebody who comes to our church and we're in love with who they are and we're using them and they're working, and all of a sudden they say, hey, you need to know that I've been divorced 3 times. And that knowledge changes our thinking, right? Changes the way that we act, right, towards somebody. But should it is the question, right?
Right.
Again, what happens, because you and I both know, and Summer knows, that the good Christian people are going to come up to you and say, Mel, you're living in homosexuality now. The letter of the law, Mel.
I know, but oh wow, I know. That's a very sticky thing to deal with.
Mel's not my friend anymore. Hey guys, there's a seat open. He's gonna hit the eject button.
Under the table.
You're so far into this now, Mel. People are watching this and they're going,
this could be a much longer
Mel,
video.
give us our answer, Mel. What do we...
What do you do?
We're talking about...
Do you really need to know?
We're talking about a far out there outline thing. But this is...
I feel like what you've just brought up makes sense. I'm sorry, it does. Meaning dating sites, the whole transition thing. I think this is becoming more common than we realize.
Yeah, super common.
And how will it...
But I have heard stories of people who did go through that, who did go through a sex change and then found Jesus. And now they're living through that. And I've heard them talk about it. And it's like...
Yeah, I think...
by the way, what would you do with it as a Christian couple? It's part of your testimony now. So would you go around telling people? Like, hey, my Sandy used to be an Andy.
You see how you set yourself up?
I did set myself up.
Yeah, you did, right?
Oh, wow.
This is what I was all ready to. I was all ready
so
to help you
excited.
out, Mel, and then I just did this. So we knew it was affirmation about where we wanted to go.
So this video is probably going to get 40,000 views. Be careful what you say.
But listen, I think there could be. God could take this video, put it in the hands of some people who are in this boat and going, Mel, is there hope? Or do I have to? Imagine if you did this when you were 22, 23. Right? Do you have to live the rest of your life single and alone, seemingly paying for this, right? It's what we've gone through with divorced people, right? What happens if you get divorced at 21, 22, and 23? Do you have to live the rest of your life single? And all of these kind of things. This is a relevant topic to Christianity and to people who are struggling. Right? Most of us are afraid of something in our past.
Yep.
We just don't want people to know about it.
Yeah.
And if people know about it, it changes the way they think about us, and it changes the way that they treat us, and it changes a whole bunch of stuff. Right? So if you only know Sandy,
Yeah.
and you never knew Andy, what do you do with that? And again, we can go through and you can find reasons. You could say, well, she was on Christian Mingle and checked the box for a she when she knew she was a he.
Yeah.
Shouldn't she have been honest? Like, wouldn't that have helped? I went on Christian Mingle. If I'd seen this beautiful woman with a male box checked, I would have known.
But is she a male? What's the definition of male and female? Is it sex organs? If she has female sex organs, should she say she's a male?
I mean, it goes right back to genetics. Oh, this is complicated.
You know what I think? You want to hear what I think?
Go ahead.
First, I would hope that that person would have sought God
Mm-hmm.
in marrying them to begin with, right? And I would hope that they felt like God was telling them to marry this person when they got married. That it wasn't just like, oh, I like you a lot, right? And if that were true, and then they found this out, I would hope that they would stand on that unless they sought God and God said, no, this changes things, right? Because of whatever reason. So, like, that's where I'm at with it. I'm at, if this is what you did, this is what you said, this is what you felt, this is the vow and the covenant that you made with this person, I would hope you did it for a real reason, right? The real reason didn't disappear when that happened. So I would say, unless God suddenly told you, if God told you it was the person to start with, then why would God then tell you, nope, just kidding, not the person?
Yeah.
So maybe it goes back further, right? To the initial decision.
Right.
And would we assume that God would just eternally punish that person and they should never have a spouse or love?
Right.
And maybe that is a earthly consequence of that decision. Maybe they don't have a spouse. I don't know.
Yeah.
But can I say that God would never allow them to have one?
And what if somebody was willing to do it?
Right.
Like, what if somebody did know all the facts?
Yep.
Right.
And
And
they
loved
said,
them even more because they were
yeah.
willing to repent and go further and move on.
Oh,
And
wow.
if we're going to say that, nope, you're a guy, well, then do they have a right to go get a woman? And wouldn't that look like a homosexual relationship?
And it would physically be homosexual.
So you're stuck in this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think my take would be similar to Summers. I would hope all of that. I think that in my case, I would hope, I would readily say the person has a right to divorce that person, right? I think that they would have a right. I would hope that they would drop their rock. I would hope that they would say exactly what Summer just said, right? But I can't even imagine the external pressure
Oh my gosh, yeah.
that there would be. And what if
I'd say,
now,
okay, honey, let's keep this a secret.
what if, God forbid,
No one needs to know.
it was you and you were a pastor?
Dun, dun, dun. Guess what? You might be disqualified.
Would you be disqualified now?
So then your calling to be a pastor wasn't really God. It was,
And what if you could keep your church if you divorced her? Because everybody would take your side. Everybody
I
would
don't
say,
think
"No,
everybody-
homosexual
I don't think so.
marriage is a sin, but divorce isn't then.
Well,
well.
I mean, there is that aspect of marital unfaithfulness that may necessitate the divorce. In other words, chronic adultery.
Sure.
Yeah, in that case, but like when you any other kind of marriage relationship would be categorically off the mark for right relationship in God's eyes. But then you bring this situation up, it's like, wow.
We're sorry.
It's like, because I you know what I try to do? I said nobody would get themselves into this situation.
Oh, yeah, okay. Don't say that.
Some
And
are
don't
better
say
than
you
others.
would never have it happen. Don't say that. Don't say it would never happen to you either.
But
'Cause-
but I so appreciate you bringing this up because I think it's very real.
I
It is real.
think it's super
Scary.
applicable to all kinds of situations. Because if you go to that route, that what happens if somebody lies to you in any way, shape, or form before you get married? Does it undo the marriage?
Right.
Is it a lie?
Is it a lie? That's
Is it
the
a
whole-
lie?
There's so much to
Like,
this whole thing.
did you ask, were you born a girl? Is she a girl now? Is it really a lie?
Well-
and we've ran into that.
Oh,
Is it a lie if I don't tell you every second of my life since birth?
But as a Christian community, it still for Christian young people, it is important, for virginity. If you never ask the person that you're dating and then engaged to and then marrying, are you a virgin? And you just assume they are.
Yeah.
And you get to your wedding night and find out they aren't, right? Does that annul the marriage? Did they lie to you before? Did they do something that would give you the grounds to say, hey, from the very beginning, you've lied to us? Because I think that's the slippery slope, right? Which lie is bigger than the rest? Certain lies get you out of things, and certain things are like, yeah, that's not big enough to undo a marriage. But is this extreme example big enough to undo marriage, right? And again, I think it just all has to do with God. I think God, He's going to lay it on your heart. He didn't put it in the Bible. Here's what to do when you're
When you
laying.
marry a transsexual.
Right, and he didn't. But I think it has to do with repentance of sin. Is the
Yes.
person truly forgiven by God?
Then they're a new creation.
yeah. And
That's
then
what it looks like.
And then I go back to the Church in Babylon, written by Erwin Lutzer. For those who are transsexual, he says, just live a life of singleness for the rest of your lifetime.
There's a
But
lot-
what if you're not? What if God doesn't? What if that's not God's plan? Who says that guy can say that about those people? That's again, this is this crazy thing this week of people saying God would never, God can never, God should do. Like, that's insane. Maybe that's our opinion. Maybe that's what we think is right. But
Yeah.
who are we to say that that is the case every single time? And God says no. God says no because you screwed up that way. Well, what if you abused women for 20 years and then got saved and never did a single thing wrong? Should you never have a wife because you abused women? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it makes no. I can't say
That's a good
God.
point.
You should always be this way.
Right.
I'm
And
not God.
and here we've had this discussion, and we haven't even gotten to Indy's question, right?
No.
No, so
Part 2.
pretty
But we're going to have a part
I
2.
said it. Pretty sure that's like her.
And
You did your own thing.
You could spend 20 videos on this.
I know. And go back and forth with a whole
And
wide...
you get to no answer.
Exactly.
The answer is you super seek God and nobody else.
Yep.
Nobody
Yep.
else, because everybody's going to tell you
Yep.
a whole bunch of crap.
Yep.
The reaction to this video should be very interesting.
hope
See
so.
what happens. And we'll see you next time with Mel in the middle without turning purple.